The powerful of John F. Kennedy quotes that still ring true today. Although John F. Kennedy passed away on November 22, 1963, his legacy endures. We're recalling some of the most inspiring passages from the 35th President of the United States inauguration speech and other notable addresses in his honor. Even though President Kennedy said these things more than 50 years ago, his ideas on morality, bravery, and freedom still ring true today. The top John F. Kennedy quotes are listed here. If freedom is to survive and prosper, it will require the sacrifice, the effort, and the thoughtful attention of every citizen. The stories of past courage can teach, they can offer hope, they can provide inspiration. But they cannot supply courage itself. For this, each man must look into his own soul. A man does what he must, in spite of personal consequences, in spite of obstacles and dangers, and pressures, and that is the basis of all human morality. Let us not emphasize all on which we differ, but all we have in common. Let us consider not what we fear separately, but what we share together. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty. United there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided there is little we can do, for we dare not meet a powerful challenge, at odds, and split asunder. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear. But let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, tap the ocean depths, and encourage the arts and commerce. My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I have said that control of arms is a mission that we undertake particularly for our children and our grandchildren, and that they have no lobby in Washington. If more politicians knew poetry, and more poets knew politics, I am convinced the world would be a little better place in which to live. Change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. Children are the world's most valuable resource, and its best hope for the future. For one true measure of a nation is its success in fulfilling the promise of a better life for each of its members. Let this be the measure of our nation. I am certain that after the dust of centuries has passed over our cities, we, too, will be remembered not for victories or defeats in battle or in politics, but for our contribution to the human spirit. The success of this government, and thus the success of our nation, depends in the last analysis upon the quality of our career services. War will exist until that distant day, when the conscientious objector enjoys the same reputation and prestige that the warrior does today. In the Chinese language, the word crisis is composed of two characters, one representing danger, and the other opportunity. We can say with some assurance that, although children may be the victims of fate, they will not be the victims of our neglect. The federal budget can, and should be made an instrument of prosperity and stability, not a deterrent to recovery. We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda, it is a form of truth. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining, by filling 3 basic gaps in our anti-recession protection. It may be different elsewhere. But democratic society, in it, the highest duty of the writer, the composer, the artist is to remain true to himself and to let the chips fall where they may. It is increasingly clear that no matter what party is in power, so long as our national security needs keep rising, an economy hampered by restrictive tax rates will never produce enough jobs or enough profits. In serving his vision of the truth, the artist best serves his nation. Our goal is not the victory of might but the vindication of right, not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom, here in this hemisphere, and, we hope, around the world. God willing, that goal will be achieved. This country cannot afford to be materially rich and spiritually poor. We celebrate the past to awaken the future. A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers. A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on. The life of the arts, far from being an interruption, a distraction, in the life of a nation, is very close to the center of a nation's purpose, and is a test of the quality of a nation's civilization. What really counts is not the immediate act of courage or of valor, but those who bear the struggle day in and day out, not the sunshine patriots but those who are willing to stand for a long period of time. We have become more, and more not a nation of athletes, but a nation of spectators. I have a nice home, the office is close by, and the pay is good. But however close we sometimes seem to that dark and final abyss, let no man of peace and freedom despair. For he does not stand alone. We must use time as a tool, not as a couch. We must think and act not only for the moment, but for our time. Dante once said that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in periods of moral crisis maintain their neutrality. Forgive your enemies, but never forget their names. The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. We must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Victory has 100 fathers, and defeat is an orphan. We choose to go to the moon in this decade, and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Public libraries should be open to all, except the censor. One person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men. Liberty without learning is always in peril, and learning without liberty is always in vain. Mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. We cannot negotiate with people who say what's mine is mine, and what's yours is negotiable. If not us, who? If not now, when? Those who dare to fail miserably can achieve greatly. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. Those who foolishly sought power by rioting The back of the tiger ended up inside.